Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the 2021 year ahead forecast for life path number 4s. This is a general reading, but if you would like a personal reading where we take a look at your personalized energies, go ahead and book some time with me. I'd be happy to take a look at that for you. The link is below in the description box. So, 4s. I myself am a life path 4, so I'm curious to see what comes up in this reading. But 2021 is a 5 universal energetic year. And so basically, collectively, what we'll be looking at for 2021 is what I like to call exploration from the ashes. And so where 2020 was a life path or a 4, universal 4 energetic year, where it was all about breaking down those systems and structures and foundations that no longer worked or were faulty. Now in 2021, I don't feel like we're at the point where we're going to actually start fully building or rebuilding, but we're at the point where we're going to be in exploration mode. So things have been broken wide open, and now we're exploring the landscape to kind of see where we want to start building and how we want to start rebuilding and those sort of things. So this 5 energetic year of 2021 really feels like it's encouraging for that exploration. And then also we're entering the age of Aquarius, so that also encourages the exploration and doing things in a new way. And so this energy will be very supportive of that, I believe. So anyway, and so the key to remember is that as you move through this year, just remember that you're in the driver's seat and you get to choose what materials you'll choose, where you'll choose to build, how you'll choose to do that. And so you get to make the decisions. You get to choose. You're in the driver's seat. So just keep that in mind as you move through the year. Now, with 5 energy, there's also lots of opportunities for redirects and reroutes and change in direction. And so what we need to remember, though, is that those changes, they come in to help us to not fall back into the way things used to be or doing things the way things used to be. The changes and the redirects and the detours come in to keep us from falling into a rut, basically. And so they're ultimately for our highest good, even though at times they can feel a little bit challenging. So I anticipate that anything that can change in 2021 will change. So that's just part of that 5 energy. And so the theme for 2021 is really collectively to regain balance, to find your own inner balance and equilibrium, and however you need to do that. And the way that you're going to do that is by the exploration and finding what works for you and what makes sense for you and what speaks to your soul. And then once you find your balance, then you can help others to find their balance. So I went ahead and pulled an animal spirit card just to kind of get an idea of what the energy was overall for 2021 for Life Path 4 specifically. And it's very on point. It's very, very interesting. We got chimpanzee spirit. And what chimpanzee says is use both your intuition and your intellect to solve the problem or get answers to your question. This is why this is so important, because 4 energy, Life Path 4s, you think about that structure, that foundation, think of a house with the 4 walls, right? So with a house, there's the structure that keeps the storms and the chaos out, but then there's the internal that also is like the heartbeat of that energy, right? And so it's kind of like with 4 energy, we're constantly maneuvering through the external and the internal, right? It's like all about that heart center, but then also about the external systems and structure and stability and foundations and teachings and wisdom and knowledge and logic and all of those things. But it's finding the balance between the two. And so I love that chimpanzee came up for us for 2021 because it's that perfect reminder that fours need to continuously be reminded of, to use both the intuition and the intellect. So again, the soul and the ego. We don't want to kill the ego and we don't want to suppress the soul. We want them working in tandem. We want them working together. And that four energy is such a great example of the union of the masculine and feminine energies from within when we're in balance. So again, I feel like these themes are probably going to be coming up with us for us pretty strongly this year. To not be too much into the divine masculine of action and not be too much into the divine feminine of stillness. We need to use both. We need to use the intuition compass with the ego logistics, okay? So, all right. So January, let's take a look at each month of the year. So January, we have this energy coming in of some kind of crossroads or major decision that needs to be made. And four energy usually doesn't have a difficult time making decisions. What sometimes we have difficulty in doing if we're out of alignment is making that decision from the heart-centered space, right? And in balance with the external intellect, right? So going right back to what chimpanzee said, use both. And so when this decision comes up for us, where we might want to automatically go to just our intuition, or if we might automatically want to go just to the logic or the practical to help make that decision, I think we're going to find that we need to use both in January. Normally when this energy comes in, I would be like, use your intuition and then allow, the intellect to guide you towards that vision. But I really feel like, the message is clear for us. We are meant to really use both. So again, ultimately the final decision will come from your heart center, from your intuition, or at least it should. But 2020, I think, opened a lot of us up to a lot of realities that we maybe didn't want to see or weren't aware of beforehand, right? So it's like we received a lot of clarity in 2020. And so now it's like we're to use that information that we gained in 2020 and before 2020 as well, but especially 2020, and then use our intuition to help make this decision. So again, it feels like we're at a crossroads of going in a new direction, but we don't necessarily know exactly what that direction is just yet. And in order to decide where to start moving, where to start taking the steps, we need to balance the intuition with the intellect and use both in the decision or decisions. It could be that we have several decisions to make in January, but ultimately we have the information that we need. And if we don't have everything that we need to make the decision, then we can utilize the external as a resource to help us. But yeah, so I feel like January is going to be one of those real decisive months where we need to make a decision that's going to sort of lay the groundwork for the coming year. So feels very important, feels very pivotal, no pressure. Then we move into February, and it's interesting, we have this energy of sort of moving from energy of being stagnant or being stuck or being in the desert, moving into more of an oasis type setting, moving into an area that's more plentiful, that's more supportive, that has more options, right? So it feels less challenging in a sense. It's like all of a sudden all these opportunities and options come before us. And the offers that we need to pay most attention to are the ones that really speak to our heart center, that really call to us, that not only make the most sense intellectually, but of course we've been told we need to pay attention to that, and I think that's wise, but also the ones that call to our heart center. And so I do feel like for many fours, there's going to be new opportunities coming in that will help elevate us to our next step, to our next path, right? It's almost like we're walking on flat ground and we're facing a mountain, and this new opportunity comes in to just swish us up and elevate us up to the summit where we can bypass some of those pitfalls that we might have faced had we trudged forward without saying yes to whatever this opportunity is. So it feels very light, very guided, it feels emotionally fulfilling too. So, if it comes in for you, whatever it is, it can be along relationships or job or whatever it is where you've kind of felt stagnant or stuck in the last year. This is kind of a new offer coming in that will feel almost like a relief. So, really beautiful energy there. Then we move into March, and it's interesting because it's kind of like whatever this offer was that came in February, now it's opened up the floodgates to just all of these decisions and choices, and it just feels very busy, it feels very action oriented in a sense. And so it's kind of like, again, we're just faced with all of these choices and decisions and opportunities, and it's kind of like where the well was dry in 2020, all of a sudden it's like a flood. So we just have a lot to choose from, it feels like, in March. And so to make the wisest decision for us, then again, we're back to chimpanzee with using that intellect and that intuition to make the decisions or decision. And that will help guide us forward. So I feel like March could potentially be one of those months where sometimes fours thrive at, where it's just there's a lot going on and there's a lot to be decided, and a lot of different paths to choose from. And, you've got to decide what's right for you. And you will decide what's right for you, regardless of what that decision is, because you're the one that's making it. And so each decision comes with new experiences and new challenges and new triumphs and all that fun stuff. But it may feel a little overwhelming in March for us fours because of everything coming in. And it does feel like almost like all of a sudden it's like things have just exploded into all these new clients or new opportunities or new, just, you know what I'm trying to say. Or you want to start dating and all of a sudden you have like 12 options or something, right? So anyway, so I feel like it's going to be a lot of going within and feeling into what feels right for you, but then also using your logic and intellect as well to continue to make those decisions. I'm definitely noticing a theme here for 2021 for us. And then we move into April, and it's interesting because once again, we're getting like this almost hermit energy for April, where it's like we're really being called to trust our own wisdom and trust our own guidance system and trust what we have learned and what we know. And you know what just instantly came to mind was to think for ourselves, and not saying that we don't do that, but where fours can sometimes, when we're out of alignment, we can be influenced by others as far as their opinions or their judgments or somebody, here it is, somebody who is an authoritative figure, right? Telling us what we should do. Sometimes fours struggle with that, with trusting their own inner knowing and their own intellect to challenge the authority, right? This is coming in so strongly. So this is definitely for those of us who this resonates for. But any four who has had struggles with standing up to, or it doesn't even have to be that aggressive. It can just be like, meeting that authoritative figure eye to eye and sharing your own beliefs, your own knowledge, your own wisdom when it comes to making a decision, and not just following the directives of that authoritative figure because that's the way things are done, right? Or the way things have always been done. It's like we're really being called to question everything this month, okay? And to not just assume that because something that is law or something that is very, very systemic that's been put in place is accurate because it's in place. So it's kind of like we're being challenged to redirect our thinking and no longer feel like we are beneath an authoritative figure, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like not necessarily challenging authority, but it's like, but not seeing it as a hierarchy and seeing it as you having as much wisdom as the other person. And it's just a different perspective. And so very interesting energy coming in April, but I'm definitely getting that with just because it's an authoritative figure telling you that something is one way or another doesn't mean it's that way for you. And so it's really that call to think on your own again and follow that intuition and that intellect that you have yourself. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So then we move into May. And in May, we have this energy of kind of clinging to something, really attaching to something really strongly out of almost like fear of loss, or, what's really coming in actually for is like, this makes sense, is this workaholic energy. So it's kind of like at the beginning of the year, remember when I said the floodgates just open and it feels really busy? Fours have a tendency to really just throw themselves into their work, especially when emotional things are coming up for them. When we're out of alignment, we can do this a lot. We can really throw ourselves into work and we become unhinged in a way. We become out of balance because we're becoming that workaholic energy and that strong masculine energy of action. And so I'm feeling that in May, we may have we may face some challenges where we're being asked to, again, find our balance and find the equilibrium and to release that strong grip that control that we're trying to have. That's exactly what it is. It's almost like we're trying to really control a situation and we're being asked to release, to surrender. And that can be really, really difficult, especially for a 4. So we may find opportunities where there's something in our realm that we're clinging really strongly to or really attached to, and we're being asked to release it. And what's interesting is come June, the next month, there's this energy of if we can release whatever that is or surrender to whatever that is in May, then there's this like newfound freedom. Then we really embrace this 5 universal energy for 2021 that is expansiveness and creation and exploration, right? And taking a leap of faith and taking a risk. Sometimes 4s have a difficult time taking a risk because we can be very calculated and very methodical. And so we're really being asked to take a risk here in June and just no holds barred. Just allow ourselves that freedom of exploration and expansion and growth and just going on an adventure, but one that scares us a little bit, right? That feels aligned, but that really sparks that sense of just inhibition, right? And so, try to say yes to as much as you can, without overdoing it, but, in June, because it does feel like we'll have an opportunity to just have a clean slate and be able to really just let our hair down, kick our feet up, and just play and just explore and really get into the nitty gritty of, our own authenticity and really see what speaks to us and what calls to us and what feels good and the road that we really want to be on as opposed to the road that we've been on, right? And so it's just an opportunity, I feel like, in June to really explore that to new depths. And it might feel a little risky. It might feel a little scary for a 4 to really venture out of that comfort zone, right? And what I keep hearing is that June may not make logical sense as far as the opportunities that come in, but that's okay. We're meant to explore even those things that we don't understand, especially those things that we don't understand, right? So that feels like June energy for pretty strongly. Then we move into July, and it's like all of a sudden, it's like all of the support network is coming in for us. All of these opportunities it's weird. It's like almost like we have explored in June, and now come July, it's like we've had these epiphanies, and now we know what we want to create, and we know the direction we want to move into. And it's like everything just sort of synchronistically shows up for us. It's like if we need information, then we suddenly meet somebody at the store who has the resource, or or we have a dream that gives us the information. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like everybody just sort of shows up. Like our support system just shows up to help us on our path to create what we want to create, which is really, really powerful. It's kind of like a shift in energy from that feeling like things were really difficult to move forward, to all of a sudden it's like everybody's just showing up and the universe is just conspiring to help us make this happen. And it feels very easy. Very easy is the word. It just flows. It doesn't feel challenging. Sometimes 4 energy can feel, a little challenging because we are meant to go through the steps. We're meant to be very methodical. We're meant to learn every piece and pull the wisdom from it. But it's like almost like when come July, we've reached the threshold, we've reached the summit, and it's like now like everybody's coming in and just everything's just showing up very, very easily. I don't know how else to put it except for everything just feels like it's just showing up and all the resources that we need just fall in our lap. And it's what we do with them, but this energy feels really, really beautiful. It's like all of a sudden there's just this shift. And when that shift happens, it's like everything just starts moving really like clockwork. It feels really beautiful. Then in August, we're back to this energy of seeking balance, okay? Like really needing balance. And again, this is a theme for a lot of everybody really collectively in 2020 is that balance and equilibrium, because it's going to be really easy for us to fall to one extreme. And so I feel like in August, we're back to that needing to find that balance between the internal and the external, really going back to chimpanzee's message of using both our intuition and our intellect to solve problems and to get the answers to the questions that we have. And so same thing for August. I feel like there's going to be opportunities where we need to make decisions, or we need to release something, or we need to acquire something. And before we can do that, we really need to have a holistic approach to that decision. So internal and external, divine feminine, divine masculine, right? Very holistic. So that's probably the word for 2021 for 4s is the holistic approach. So body, mind, spirit, internal, external. I feel like August is going to have these opportunities to continue to find the balance, and not just any balance, not just like a collective balance, or others trying to influence your balance. The balance that works for you is definitely going to be about not being too focused on one or the other, the external or the internal, but finding the balance between the two. That's really, really going to be important. And I do feel like that's a theme for 2021 for us. So, and then when we can do that, we move into September, and September is really this beautiful, just really actually where balance is a word I've probably used way too much in these readings, but it's just, we're back to, in September, it feels like we've reached our harmony. We've found our harmony. We found our tranquility. We found that sweet spot that really works for us. We feel divinely connected. We feel grounded to the earth. We feel like we're getting the insights and the downloads and the inspirations, as well as the resources on the physical plane, the connections, the community, the groundedness and being able to create within the physical. So it's very much like September just feels like one of those months where, again, things just seem to fall into place. And it's not, usually things don't just fall into place. It's usually like it takes our effort. It takes effort on our part to get there, but sometimes we don't recognize when we're putting that effort in, and it feels like things are just falling into place. And I feel like September is that for 4s. Things just seem to fall into place. Things feel very, very guided, very synchronistic, very much a reminder that your soul is in the driver's seat and that you've got this, right? So it's like, it feels very nurturing, very loving energy in September, very supported. It's almost, again, like you found your tranquility, you found your balance, you found your internal equilibrium. And so really embrace and nurture that energy throughout September. And then when we move into October, it's interesting because we have like something we need to lay to rest, something that needs to come to completion. So this is a general reading, so it could come in a variety of ways for you, but it's something like maybe it's whatever you were holding on to back in May that you finally found a way to release and surrender that energy so that you're not clinging and you're not holding on so tightly. You can loosen your grip, because October, it does feel like something needs to come to completion. Something has, basically that contract has finished, okay? And that can be, again, work, relationships, something with self, some kind of belief system, however it comes in for you. But there is definitely this energy of something coming to completion in October. But it's something that needs to be laid to rest because, again, it's just something we're carrying or clinging to that's not really anything we need to continue to cling to or carry to. Okay. It needs to be left behind. It needs to be moved on from. And so there's and this could be an abrupt ending to whatever this is. So just be aware of that. But whatever it is, it's meant to end. It's meant to come to completion because it's meant to clear space for what wants to come in. Okay. So then we move into November, and it's interesting. I'm just getting this really strong sense of like abundance. It's really a lot of abundance. And so this could be a lot of different things. It could be at work, you're getting a big promotion. If you run your own business, then you're getting a big influx of clients, or this could be that turning point where suddenly this feels sustainable. This feels legitimate. It's like something where it's like if in the past you were worried about being able to make ends meet, it's like all of a sudden there's this financial security that comes in November where it's like, that you're good to go. Okay. So the finances are in place. You're good to go. This could be for some an inheritance. It could be some kind of winning. I mean, I don't want to, if you play the lottery, that maybe you win the lottery, something like that. But it's just it just feels like a big influx of financial security coming in one way or another. So however this comes in for you, but it can also be something that, being a 4, usually we're not ones to win the lottery. We're ones that have to work for that security and that wealth or whatever. So it's kind of like it really does feel like for the majority that this is something you've worked really hard for, and all of a sudden you're finally seeing this just incredible influx of the tangibles coming in for you. And I'm going to tell you, because I'm a 4 too, so I get it. It feels really, really good. It feels like the tangible we've been asking for so long all of a sudden just comes flooding in. And, anything we were worried about or whatever, as far as like the financial security, is kind of alleviated at that point. I mean, we should be doing that on our own anyway, energetically, but it's like now we're seeing the tangibles. So November feels like a very prosperous month. That's probably the best word for it. It feels very, very prosperous. So then we move into December, and guess what? It's this energy again of balance. So it's almost like, what's funny is what's immediately coming in. It's like, whereas before, maybe we were trying to find the balance because we didn't have that mass amount of tangibles. And now all of a sudden we have this, that influx of that financial security coming in. And if that's through clients or something like that, or work, now it's like, guess what? Now there's that added piece of like a lot of clients or a lot of extra work or whatever. So guess what? Again, we need to find our balance. And so it's kind of like in December, we're needing to re-find our footing, the footing that makes sense for us given the current circumstances, like giving our new situation. Now we need to find our new balance, right? So it's kind of like 2021 is this energy of like finding balance and then losing that balance and then finding the balance, and then the change happens and we have to re-find our new balance. You know what I mean? So it's like constantly this energetic evolution of like the energy changing, and then we need to find our footing again. And then like there's another like movement, and then we need to find our footing again. And so it's just kind of like the balance is key. And so for December, again, we're just in that energy of like, okay, things have shifted a little bit, and now it's like we can let this derail us because we don't, we're in new territory here, or we can find the balance that works for us and allow it to work for us. Okay. So interesting energies for us for 2021, but it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Really powerful, beautiful energies for 2021. A lot about finding that balance, a lot about, again, using both our intuition and our intellect when it comes to making decisions, solving problems, how we approach life, all of those things. When you think of your 4 energy, just remember it's like a house. You've got the internal, you've got the structure, and you've got the internal. And there needs to be a balance between all of it, okay? So I hope 2021 is a beautiful year for you. I'm right there with you. And until next time, take care for now.